We would like to give a warm welcome to some of her expert providers joining us for today's conversation. You can learn more about each of the experts featured in this episode, as well as many other vetted professionals through our free provider directory available on our website. You'll find the link in the show notes today. Today's episode is part of our Expert Roundtable series, where we bring together professionals from a variety of fields to discuss the topics that matter most to moms. We host 4 of these roundtables each year, and this is the second in our 2025 series. These conversations are a cornerstone of our work within Her Health Collective, offering diverse perspectives and encouraging collaboration across disciplines. Our goal is to support moms through more connected, well rounded care and to give our experts a chance to learn from one another in the process. In today's roundtable, we are discussing a topic I know many of our moms are very passionate about: navigating the digital age and raising resilient kids. We will be digging into everything from screen time and body image to digital boundaries and mental health. Before we begin, we're going to let each of our experts introduce themselves and share their area of focus. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to go in order that I see everybody. Marianne.
Thank you. I am Marianne Brenneman. I am the owner of Mindful Health and Harmony based in Northwest Raleigh. I have a graduate certificate from NC State in family life education and coaching. I'm a teen wisdom certified coach and a family life coaching association certified expert. I work with tweens, teens, young adults, and parents, especially during key transition stages like elementary to middle, middle to high school to college. I'm a strengths-based coach, and I'm big on teaching life skills and competence, which helps with their confidence and communication skills. So that's what I love to do.
Thank you so much, Marianne. We're excited to have you here. Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gordon. I am an eating disorder recovery coach with a master's in social work, concentration, and mental health. As an eating disorder coach, I work with people who have a diagnosis of an eating disorder. Often they're stepping down from inpatient residential, but I also work with people who don't always have a diagnosis. They often have a poor relationship with food, body image, things of that nature. We do weekly one-on-one sessions, very goal-oriented. And we focus on here and now, and they're welcome to text me anytime in between sessions for support.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We're excited to have your perspective today. And next we have Anastasia.
I am Anastasia, and I am a family coach as well as a licensed counselor and a former educator and a mom. I have over 20 years experience in education and counseling. I've worked with hundreds of families, and my biggest thing is helping to bring calm and connection into homes. I blend the mental health and then the coaching together and hope that that helps bring that calm into the families. I specialize with helping women shift and learning how to get rid of that chaos.
Thank you. It's so good to have your voice with us today, Anastasia. Next up, we have Erin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Jones. I am a licensed counselor. I specialize in obsessive compulsive disorder and related diagnoses like anxiety. I work a lot with kids, teens, and adults, and have lived experience myself. I'm also a mom, and I really enjoy educating and advocating for the OCD community and helping whether kids, teens, or adults, help them in giving OCD less power in their lives. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Erin. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. And last but certainly not least, Irene.
I'm Irene Googe with Loving Lessons Sleep Solutions, where I'm trained as a sleep coach and postpartum doula. And I help anxious parents that are overwhelmed in the newborn to preschool season go from exhausted and uncertain to rested and confident when we pinpoint the root cause of what's really happening with those sleep struggles. And we create a personalized sleep plan that is building trust and respect through flexible routines. And I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you, Irene. I always love hearing what you have to say.
I'm very excited to have this conversation today. Over the years that we've had our podcast, I have been very open and honest about my struggles as a mom with my children with electronics. And so to have the support of the experts here to discuss all of this, I think will be very, very helpful to a lot of moms, especially me. So as we're talking about this topic, I'm also excited because looking at the panelists, I think we're going to get a really well-versed perspective of this on age, as not just focusing on young toddlers, preschoolers, elementary kids, but moving into the teenagers, which I have and I battle all the time. So let's move into this conversation. Many professionals stress the importance of intentional tech use and building family rhythms that support presence, rest, and imaginative play while limiting screen dependence. Let's discuss how we can foster this type of environment. It's so much easier said than it is done. So I would love to get this conversation started there. So Irene, how can families create daily rhythms that encourage creativity and play without defaulting to the screens?
Such a great question. And oftentimes it's really stressful, right? Because it is so easy to create a routine where we're like, you know what? I'm just going to put the TV on and I'm going to do what I need to move on to. And then bam, we're done. But sometimes we don't recognize, like in the simplicity of that routine, how hard it can become around like meal times, sometimes not even noticing like that we're not connecting with our little ones. And then of course, like sometimes the screen time, how it could be impacting sleep and the lights and how that then sabotages naps or bedtime. And so, you know, a lot of times this is where I spend a lot of my focus time with families and looking at what's actually really taking place. How are our children noticing what we're communicating with them through our routines? And the first thing to think about is like, what is that hard time of day that's really stressful? And really stepping back and noticing like, well, what are my kids actually perceiving? What do I actually want them to do in this time frame? And a lot of times parents are like, just go play, right? Like, just go play, just do that. But when we're looking at younger children, especially 5 and younger, they need some support to transition to go play. And so it's, you know, being intentional about creating those rhythms and routines, sometimes thinking about singing songs to help them through those transitions, because children do really well with that. And one of the things that sometimes we don't realize is that schedules can be really stressful for us as parents and for kids because they don't respond to schedules. Kids don't know and understand time. And so thinking about the flow and the sequence of events can make a big difference. And, you know, one of the things I'll share with you is that even this morning I was on a group coaching call and one of my mamas, she was like looking at her routine and she goes, oh my gosh, we improved bedtime because they realized the little tweaks that they could make in the steps that how they were communicating with their older kiddos. And their little ones are using screens to, you know, read on a red tablet. They have lighting shifted, but realizing like the order and how they were doing it. And so sometimes it's just taking a few minutes to pause and notice the rhythm and routine that we're creating in our home. And oftentimes I'll encourage families to incorporate yes spaces. And yes spaces are where, you know, our kiddos can actually play without us, because oftentimes we're looking to have that screen time because we really need a break. We need a timeout. And like screens are not all bad, but it's one of those things, recognizing how we use it to make it intentional and make it move and have a great flow in our home.
That's really helpful. For yes spaces, can you explain those a little bit more? What does that entail? What is the age range that you usually use the yes spaces around?
Yeah, so a yes space is actually a setup that you might have in your room. So for an infant or a toddler, it could be their crib. It could be a pack and play, or it could even be a room in the house that has a gated area. So children, yes, they are safe and they can do whatever they need to do within that space. But sometimes in our routines, we feel like we always have to tell our kiddos like, no, don't go here, don't do that. So taking some time to look at our environment to see how it's supporting us can be really helpful. Now, a yes space with like a preschooler would still look like we need to maybe have a room, or maybe like setting up their bedroom, or like a playroom area where it is gated off and they can play there safely. And yes, you can then walk away and cook or, you know, clean or do whatever the things are that you need to do as a parent. But sometimes when we don't have those spaces where our children can go, we're like with them all of the time and we don't get a break. And so we want them to become acclimated in their yes spaces. And believe it or not, like yes spaces actually teach our children, like, yes, I can handle this time. I can play and explore and be creative. And then that also helps them sleep because it's not like the bed or the room is the first time that they're alone. Like they've practiced this after they've fed and eaten during the day, and now they can handle this time in their space. So yes spaces is a tool that I find that's super helpful for parents. It takes a little bit of like thought process to set up, but when you have it, it is like golden because it is that structure and that freedom to be able to allow children to do what they need to do and move their bodies, and you get a break as a parent.
I think that sounds like a win-win situation, Irene, for sure. Marianne, I'd like to turn to you, please. You strongly believe in the value of face-to-face communication in the digital age. How do routines like family dinners help to build connections in a digital first world? I know that having all of these devices, we are kind of backing away from this face-to-face and moving more towards text. So can you fill us in a little on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally believe that face-to-face communication is the best type of communication. You can hear somebody's tone of voice. You can see their facial expressions. I guess it could be over FaceTime, but like live interaction where you can see somebody, rather than texting. You can't get tone from a text or an email, just that sort of thing. You can't feel their energy. A lot of the clients I work with are very anxious in social settings because they haven't had the opportunity to develop those social skills that come from talking face-to-face. They agonize over texts that they would send and Snapchats and all this stuff. So I think it's particularly important for children who are trying to grow that social confidence and social awareness to have face-to-face conversations. When we text our kids, we're going to, right? We manage their schedules, like meet me at the gym, I'll pick you up, like that sort of stuff. We're going to do that. But I think that the face-to-face communication, even within families, sometimes gets diminished by the opportunity to just, shoot a quick text or whatever. So with family dinners and routines, I always tell my clients and the parents, it's not about the food. It's not about, it doesn't have to be a gourmet meal that everyone sits down at and uses perfect manners. It's not about that. It's about the connection time. And it has to be device free. Everybody, it can't just be you tell the kids to put their devices away. The parents have to do that too. I like game nights. I like movie nights. It's like I said, it's about the connection, not about the actual activity. And we're creating moments where everyone is present. They're actually present and they're safe and they're with the people who love them the most. And I think that's a powerful anchor in a world that's very noisy and busy. So I think that's important. Your kids will open up more if they're not distracted. And I think it's a wonderful way to keep families together, device free.
How would children or teenagers implement this face-to-face with their friends? Because I'm finding that my 15-year-old daughter, they text more than they are on the phone. And it's hard for them then when they're together to not just be on their phones.
I've actually seen a group of teenagers texting each other together. Like,
oh my gosh.
There's right. Like, I'm like, you're 3 feet from that person. Please actually just talk to that person. It is hard for them to implement when they haven't done it. So a lot of times when I'm working with kids and I work in groups and one-to-one, they'll say, oh, I'm just going to text them about this dramatic thing that happened. And I'm like, maybe we should text them and say, I'd like to talk to you about this dramatic thing that happened. You really have to interject that type of idea to them to be like, there are certain things that need to be said and will be said more appropriately and be resolved quicker if you say it in person. So feel free to text someone and say, I would really like to talk with you later. Can we FaceTime or get together? Your teens will be resistant to this at first because it's not the world they're comfortable with. But I can guarantee you that every time someone has told me, well, we had this big fight over text, and then I talked to them in person and it was a misunderstanding or we were able to resolve it. Very rarely do things get resolved well in text or over writing. It has to really be that you feel the person's energy and have an opportunity to explain yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the big things I like to work with teenagers on, these communication skills. And I was thinking about this before we got on this call today. We're coming into an era where we have parents who are digital natives too. Digital native being the term for, someone who's always had tech their entire life. that's not me. Like if I wanted to resolve a situation with somebody, I either had to call them on the phone that was attached to the wall in the kitchen, right? Or I had to talk to them in person. So we're getting to a group of parents that don't know anything other than tech either. So emphasizing clear communication skills and face-to-face conversation is going to be really important.
Just interesting, Marianne, as you said that, because I was actually with a family the other day and she was talking about how her son, they were talking about like he wanted this one toy or whatever. So she's like, oh, I'll go and order it on the app. And so she went and she ordered it and the little boy ran to the front door and he was like, it's not here.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, wow. And she had made that connection of like what our kids learn, especially after COVID, like with groceries being delivered, how things just show up. And like her other son, he was like, how did they know these were my favorite like treats that they got in the grocery cart? And I just like, it was something like we both stepped back. We were like, wow, like different things we need to think about in our communication and the routines and rhythms and the concepts that our little ones will need to learn.
Well, that instant gratification too, right? Like, oh, we ordered it, so it must be here and I get to have it. That's a whole other thing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, Irene had talked a little bit, Marianne, previously about yes spaces. And that was one of the solutions that she had offered in terms of helping parents with the convenience of screens, as well as having the time in order for them to accomplish what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any input as well on balancing this convenience of having the screen with the need for unstructured, device-free downtime with our children?
Absolutely. I could go on about this for days because I think that parents didn't know how addictive and how drawn to these devices their kids would be and how we all would be. I mean, how many times have we all just mindlessly scrolled and been like, oh my gosh, I popped on for 10 minutes and it's been an hour. I mean, I did that a couple days ago. It's like, oh my gosh. So I have a couple ideas about that. I love the idea that kids have a cutoff time for their phones or their devices, not just phones, for devices. Like, and I'm sure that Irene would agree, they need this wind down time before bed. You can't be constantly putting stimulus into your brain and then tell a child, okay, now you have to go to sleep. It doesn't work that way for any human, right? So I like the idea of parents having a cutoff time. I like the idea of the devices charging in the parents' room. They shouldn't be in the kids' rooms overnight. Teenagers will figure out a way how to get on those devices, even if you think they're not. I personally love the idea of a device-free outing or afternoon, like I said about the device-free dinners and whatever, but maybe with enough warning, you say to your kids, hey, on Sunday, we're going to go, all of us are going to go device-free from 12 to 3 or something. Just go for a time frame where you're all agreeing to not be on the phones. I love summer camps where they're device-free or summer activities. And then if anyone doesn't know about the Wait Till 8th campaign, I'm a big fan of that. That is the initiative that tries to get parents to wait until 8th grade for smartphones. And they're hoping to delay social media use till 16. And you don't have to do it alone. That Wait Till 8th community, you sign a pledge, you can find other people in the area to do it with you. You can try to put it in your school. It's a really good thing.
Thank you very much for that, Marianne. This next topic is something I am really looking forward to diving into. It's always been something that I'm interested and fascinated in, and especially raising a daughter who is almost 8, which I know is the age where we start to see things like body image take a downhill slide. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic. More and more data has been gathered over the years that show us that social media and digital aesthetics have a negative influence on kids' self-perception and emotional health. I'm going to direct this to Stephanie at first. Stephanie, what concerns are you seeing around body image and platforms, especially the visual platforms like TikTok or Instagram?
Oh my goodness, there are so many concerns I have. And for time's sake, I will keep it to 3: Instagram, filters, AI, and TikTok. So once upon a time, Instagram used to be like Facebook, but now Facebook is with Meta, so they're pretty much the same. And you would post a blurry picture of these new shoes you got, your dog, post it, and it would post in chronological order. But now there are Photoshop groups where people are asking people to edit their photos and make them, in quotes, Instagram worthy, meaning you need the perfect angle, perfect lighting, the perfect inspirational quote to go under this cute sunset or selfie or whatever it may be. And if you go to someone's profile, it needs to look cute. That means Sometimes people do like a color coordination or just very eye appealing photos. You're no longer posting a picture of your dog running in a sprinkler. There's like intention behind these photos to make life look glamorous, I guess I'll call it. And then you've got things like reels and trends. And trends, I think, last a few days, a week, if you're really lucky, a month. And you've got to hook them in, I think, 3 seconds, because our attention spans are getting lower and lower these days. You got maybe 10 seconds max. And these videos are 10 seconds long to just hook someone in. And then meanwhile, you've got Aunt Susan who just wants to see photos of her nephew's soccer game. She's not going to see them because now you're against an algorithm. So unless she goes to her sister's page, she's going to be fed anything and everything that the algorithm thinks she wants to see. Now, turning it more towards younger users, they want to be in the spotlight. They want to be popular with their friends, have the latest trends going as well. So I think of it like this. Imagine a 15-year-old girl. She's looking at her friends' family vacation photos. And for whatever reason, she notices that like her friend looks stunning. Her makeup is perfect. There's not a pore on her skin. She's glowing. And oh my gosh, did she lose 10 pounds this past weekend? Like, what the heck just happened? And then she will come across another profile, maybe someone she knows from school, maybe a stranger. But because she slowed her scroll on this friend's profile, the algorithm is going to feed her photos very similar to what she was just seeing. So now she sees this other person with, amazing clothes, flawless skin. And what we're not realizing is there are so many filters and editing apps, AI, that are so subtle, but can have like a very big impact. And especially like we're not normally, critiquing, someone's abs or something like that. But when they're posted right in your face, that's all you see. And we're not able to, especially like a 15-year-old, they're not taking into account, is this real? Is this not? So then, she goes to the bathroom, sees a pimple on her face. Well, now she's realizing I don't look like my best friend in her family photos. Goes to the bathroom, comes back, goes to send an email, and here comes a pop-up ad of an advertisement fully AI generated, because they're putting ads out that are completely AI generated. Like this family doing some activity, but this family doesn't even exist. It's completely AI generated. And if adults are having a hard time seeing that a whole ad is fake, these people aren't even real, how is an 11 to 18-year-old supposed to realize that? The human brain isn't even fully developed until about 25, I think. And we're feeding these very young preteens, teenagers, these usually unrealistic expectations. And they're constantly consuming it day after day, thinking, what's wrong with me? And the fact is, nothing's wrong with you. And then I'll go to TikTok. One of the latest things lately is a thing called skinny talk. And people in the eating disorder helping profession are realizing that it's very similar, if not exactly the same thing, as what Pro Anna and Pro Mia websites used to be, which were websites where people with anorexia or bulimia would go on there and post very harmful tips and tricks of how to stay thin, engage in behaviors, things like that. But now it's coming through the TikTok screen of these very young girls, giving them very harmful behaviors, or sometimes it's being passed off as innocent, just have more self-control. The latest one I heard is, if you are wanting a dessert or like wanting a little treat, remember, you're not a dog. You don't need a treat. And it's like, food is supposed to be enjoyable. It can bring comfort. We don't just eat to, eat our green leafy vegetables. We can have cake and enjoy it regardless of what anyone's body, looks like, or the shape or size. And what we're seeing is this drive for extreme thinness again, which was huge in the 90s. And it seems to be that a lot of progress that was made in terms of body positivity, acceptance, health at every size, is so quickly becoming undone, and it's just spreading like wildfire out there. And I have clients who, even like adults, where they'll say, I saw this thing online and I know I shouldn't be thinking like that, but it's so hard to stop thinking like that, because it seems like everyone's trying to lose weight, everyone's trying the newest supplement, here's this person, here's my next door neighbor. She looks great. What does she do? What's her secret? And I'm like, a filter. And, we've got these grown adults who are struggling. And then when we turn it back to kids, their brains aren't developed and they're just being sucked in. And it's really, really scary.
It really is very scary. And you make the point about how realistic so many of these filters and editing tools are. And I think that's where some of the biggest danger is. I remember when the editing things first came out, and it was very, very obvious that it had been edited. I played with them when they first came out, and you could tell there was like a ball around the face that made everything look poreless, but then the air around my face also looked poreless, and everyone knew. But that's not the case anymore. And especially as these are AI generated, and you're right, our kids don't have, like, even adults, even myself, I don't always have the bandwidth to look at an edited photo and not go down that comparison rabbit hole. And I think that's even more so the case for our kids. And it is very concerning. I'd like to turn to Erin and ask you a bit about social media and how that can trigger anxiety or compulsive behaviors like reassurance seeking or comparison.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you said trigger instead of cause, because I think a lot of folks think that social media and digital use can cause OCD or anxiety, though plenty of things in real life can be triggers as well, though it's good to know where I think a lot of digital mediums, especially social media, can really be just like the grounds in which it can be really easy to get sucked into compulsive behaviors if you've already got that tendency. And when a lot of kids or teens are using these devices, that can also be the age in which many folks do notice that their anxiety or OCD is developing. So it's a good time to notice these tendencies. So first, just to define, reassurance seeking is something that we all do, but in terms of obsessive compulsive disorder or anxiety, it's when somebody is excessively trying to get validation or assurance regarding some sort of fear, but it's driven by anxiety and fear versus looking for factual information. And, as Stephanie brought up too, a lot of comparison to others can come up with social media. But it may not just be about looks. The internet, social media can be used a lot for reassurance seeking regarding really any fear, right? So like, what if, many of us have had this social fear, right? Oh, I don't know. I felt weird about that interaction I had earlier. What if my friend is mad at me? You could research whether or not somebody might be mad at you. You could look up or post threads online about the situation and ask whether or not somebody might be mad at you. You could look at reels. You could compulsively text the person or other friends and ask if they're mad at you or not. And maybe in and of itself, that behavior could be helpful. But if you get an answer one time and you still feel like you have to keep asking, that's when it becomes more compulsive. And I think, as Marianne was bringing up before, having these like non-face-to-face mediums for these things can just make it so much easier kind of get sucked into that rabbit hole. And a lot of people with anxiety, OCD, can experience fears related to like FOMO, fear of missing out. I think social media can trigger a lot of that too, right? Not only about body image, but oh, look at what everybody's doing. In the past, we used to not be able to look online and see what everybody else in the world is seemingly doing, and leading to comparison in terms of that as well. So I also wanted to draw out from body image and just say that we can really essentially worry about everything and then get pulled into social media to try to check on those fears.
How can caregivers talk to their kids about body standards? Or I think FOMO is a great example. If their 15-year-old comes in and says, everybody's out having fun and without me, and I wasn't invited, and I'm not a part of this cool group anymore, and nobody likes me, and sort of catastrophizing everything. How can we talk to kids about these things without adding to the pressure that, they're already under so much pressure?
So much pressure. Yes, we definitely don't want to add to the pressure, and then we could be feeling pressured to talk about the pressure. So, and that's a great example too, like the kid coming home, like, oh, my friends did this other thing. I've worked with folks who experience that a lot. I think adults too, where it's even like, I went and did this thing And now I'm having doubt because I saw things posted online about what the other option was or what everyone else I know ended up doing. And now I'm feeling bad about that. Again, that's stimuli that we just didn't have before. But I think whether it's about body standards online or FOMO or really any of these topics, social media use in general, I think having, semi-frequent discussions in which you ask your kid or teen open-ended, curious questions is going to be the most helpful. So if they're using it, right, check in from time to time. And, an open-ended question with curiosity would be something like, who are you following on Instagram these days? And what do you like about that page? Like, what do you tend to see? And, or I don't know, what was like a funny TikTok trend that that people are looking at now. And I think that can ease into these conversations about like, oh, why was that harder for you? Maybe for the kid who was coming home and talking about dealing with FOMO. So I think having these conversations just kind of as they come up in the moment and being curious can be especially helpful. I think that as much as we feel it's appropriate with our kids or teens, we can also bring up some of our own experiences. I know somebody mentioned earlier that a lot of parents are coming into that phase of also having grown up with digital use. And I think it can also be really helpful to just say, yeah, like I notice it too. Like I saw a post the other day about a lot of moms being out, and I even had that thought, oh, maybe I should have gone to that. And I think we can connect with our kids in that way. I think also as it pertains to body standards, I think that in these like intermittent discussions that parents and kids can talk about things like what Stephanie was bringing up, the algorithm, just like, oh, it was weird. I brought up like, I don't know, this food recipe, and now I keep seeing like broccoli coming up on my feed all the time because I talked about it or this product. And like, isn't it interesting? Why do you think it's done that way? And kind of have those conversations with your teen too. Like, who do you think benefits from that? And I think just again having those more open-ended, curious conversations can just help your kids build their own digital competency.
Something I heard you mention a couple times, and I've heard many experts say over the past few years that we've had the podcast, is just leading with curiosity. I've heard you mention that a couple times, and I think that's so powerful in having these types of conversations with our kids, to lead with curiosity. So thank you for sharing that, Erin.
I was just going to bring up something that I was thinking as Stephanie was talking about, was even us as parents, when we're taking pictures or videos of our kiddos, I have found myself like, I like to snap those photos, but then I'm not very good about getting to social media to post on it. But I'm actually really grateful that I'm not good at that, because then I feel like how much more time, like, did I need to post that in real time and things like that? And so, there is an element of also asking for permission. Like, can we post these? Because, when you put it out there, it is out there, and we never know how it will be used. And then it was just something that has made me think, like, because my boys don't really love when I post anything about them. So I'm very mindful of that. And I do ask for permission, especially with teenagers, because again, it's just a little bit different. And so it was making me think about how we're communicating, how we're showing up with our little ones, and the routines we might have around our picture taking, video taking habits.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Irene. I had always, every year or so, I just asked my daughter, are you okay with me posting this to social media? And she was always like, yes, I want you to, please. She's a little ham. Like, she loves being on camera. And it was about a year ago, in this past year, I asked her, and she's like, actually, no, I don't want that to be on social media. So we've stopped posting. I post it to close friends. Like, we had a conversation about it, and she explained. And so I was allowed to post her Girl Scout cookie video because she really wanted to sell those cookies. And, I can post to my close friends in Instagram stories. Like, we had a conversation about who sees it and why she doesn't want it shared. And I think it's important to keep checking in and keep asking them that question. So thank you for pointing that out.
Going on what Stephanie said about posting the pictures and, oh my gosh, did she lose 10 pounds over the weekend sort of thing with all the filters. I work with a lot of college girls, and a lot of them happen to be in the Greek system. And the number of bikini shots that I see being, put out there just constantly. And for recruitment, for look at what we're doing here, look at what we're doing there. I mean, first of all, the idea of posting a picture of myself in a bikini on social media just makes me break out in hives. Like, I can't even imagine doing that. But these girls, it's almost as if I've had girls say to me, I don't want to do it, but I have to. I'm like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. And I'm hoping that we can have the conversation with them that, again, they use social media, it doesn't use them. And just because everybody's posting about, a body shot doesn't mean they have to. If they're comfortable with it, great. But why are they doing it? Like, okay, why are you putting this out there? It's important to know, what reaction are you hoping to get? What reaction will upset you if you get it? What non-reaction will do to you if nobody says anything? I think it's just important to think about what we post and why. And again, like, as somebody who grew up with body image issues and has worked really hard to get rid of those, and they're still really not gone, social media is not good for that. And we have to make sure that these girls, I say girls, but I know that boys can have body image issues too, but tends to be young women. I think we just need to talk to them about what they see, how it makes them feel, and what they feel obligated to do and why they feel that obligation. I think it's important to have those open discussions.
Even when you don't want to be seeing something, I notice again, we have to be mindful of slowing our scroll. And I've had to have people try to undo the algorithm. My friend posted a picture literally yesterday that has her dogs in it. She mentioned the company that they have the collars for. I now see all the dog collars for a company. I'm like, I don't even have a dog anymore. And I have dog collars in the last 24 hours coming through. So I've done this for myself and with other clients to literally go and like search something, anything in the world. So like if it's something harmful, I mean, dog collars isn't, but like something harmful that is triggering, to actually try to undo it by searching a recipe or, something fun, because it will feed it to you so quickly, even when you aren't looking for it.
Very true. They're always listening. That's what it feels like. Thank you to all of you for your time. It's been a very enlightening conversation, very, very helpful. I can't wait to go back and listen to it again and just continue to get little nuggets from all that we've discussed today. So thank you. It's always appreciated. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.